Yeah. Welcome to PNW Prop Stars, the only Seahawks only gambling show in the multiverse. I'm your host, Clinton Bonner. I am joined by two sensational co-hosts today. Gentlemen, the bye week continues. Mr. Wilson Kahn, he's out in the Adirondacks living life. Beautiful weather out here in the Northeast, so he's into the mountains. And we are bringing in the one, the only, the whole thing. Brandon Schultz coming in to replace for Wilson today. Brandon, how are you doing, buddy?
Adirondacks. I wonder how he's enjoying it up in Canada.
South Canada, the whole thing. It's all good. Adam, you have mountains. How are your mountains?
I have mountains, but we don't have chairs like they do there where Wilson's visiting. So I hope he's very comfy.
Yeah, so there's no glacier style chair. That's not a thing.
No, we just sit on a rock like men. But if Wilson needs to sit on an Adirondack chair, then I guess more power to him. But why am I making fun of him? Because he hits bets and I don't. So I'm glad he's gone today. I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah, that makes two of us. I wish he was here, but I'm happy Brandon's here. But he hits bets and I don't either. Brandon, let me think for a second here. Can Gulchworks come up with a form of Montana embraced chair and make it a thing and go make $1 billion? What do you think?
Yeah, and then we don't have to, because I don't even know where the Adirondacks are. But if we came up with a Gulchworks chair, or then we just know that it's all from Phillipsburg, Montana, and what would we call them? Would we call them Gulchies?
We call them freaking awesome. That's what we would call them.
Yeah. So I think we got a little pet project here. Maybe we could crowdsource or flock source some ideas of what's the ergonomics of this. Like I understand ergonomics a little bit, right? At least I know the word a little bit. So maybe we could go out to the flock and say, if we were to create a Gulchie, what would it be shaped like? And go research what an Adirondack is. So it'll come back with 2.0 of that. We need something bold. We need something big, just like this show is going to be. And Brandon, we have a big, bold partnership with mybookie.ag that we should probably tell the flock about because, hey, this is the right show for it, for sure.
This is absolutely the right show because if you are inspired by anything you hear today, and just because Wilson's not here doesn't mean there aren't going to be good bets, because he has passed his knowledge on to me, and you can use that knowledge at mybookie.ag. You can use the promo code HAWKRA, HAWKRA. You can get a 100% deposit match, and you can use that accordingly.
Very nice. So good luck out there. As Adam and I have been saying for weeks, really, Adam leading the brigade. Don't listen to us. This is fun. This is for fun. It's great entertainment, but by all means, do not pick our picks. Don't use them because they've been burning in flames, and we'll show that a little bit later too. So guys, last night, the Tyson fight, did you guys stay up for it? And are you sad that you did? Adam?
Not sad at all. I'm a little disappointed that Mike didn't look like he did 4 years ago against Roy Jones. I thought if he could move around like that, like if you could go back, just watch 30 seconds of that fight and then compare it to what you saw last night, you'd be like, oh, okay. He really aged like 40 years in 4 years. And that was the biggest bummer to me. But man, undercards were great and really enjoyed the fight between Taylor and Serrano. That was just a war. Brandon, I know that that might have had a little too much blood for you.
I had to turn away a couple times. Apparently, the one woman from Clinton's hometown likes to headbutt, and
she's Irish.
And it worked out for her. So it made it interesting, but it made me have to turn away. And yeah, the final fight of the night was more my style, no blood. And it could have been more exciting, but I was glad that they allowed it to go the entire distance. It was fun to watch Tyson's final fight.
Yeah, it was fun. I was at not a neighbor, but someone in town. There's probably like 6 families there and a bunch of kids and just piling in, and they've never watched boxing. It's just not been a thing. They're like 14, 13, 15 years old. Boxing's not really a thing. MMA for some of them and stuff like that, but or they'll go watch people play video games, but not boxing. So that was kind of cool. And they were glued to the 2 fights beforehand, which was awesome. So I'm sitting in Westbrook, Connecticut, and then other people that I'm sitting with that I've known for like basically 15 years, maybe even more, are like, oh yeah, she lives by Joanne, down by the Y. And the Irish woman, Taylor, she lives in my hometown. I did do, boys. I did open up my FanDuel app and I put $5 on her, and that hit. So if I win nothing else this year with my Seahawks bets, at least they spur of the moment, completely nonsensical bet, $5, a little scratcher on Taylor, headbutt for the win. And I cashed about almost $5 on that. So almost 100%. So
$5 when someone from your hometown is there. Like, you couldn't even up it to your $10 bet that you would normally place here on PNW PropStars.
Correct. I like money. All right. So even though it doesn't seem like that. All right. And then before we get going, guys, I do think we got to take a second to ask about, Connor Williams in this retirement. I would frame it this way. Let's start with Brandon. Brandon, give me a 30 to 45-second synopsis of what the heck actually happened. Not what we're hearing, but what actually happened. Go.
What? You think that I have the story? I'm the inside
I just
source
think you have
Connor
an
Williams?
opinion. I think you have an opinion.
Yeah, I thought you wanted the accurate thing of what happened with Connor Williams retiring, because what happened last week is toward the middle of the week when we started to see the injury report, we saw Connor Williams show up as not participating in practice, and the reasons were, quote, personal. And your mind starts to speculate on what that might be. Like, does he have, sometimes when you see that, it's for a tragic reason, like a death in the family, like one of the 49ers is dealing with. And there's also, people get married. And so then that's a happy personal reason. And like Michael Dixon in the offseason decided to up and get married during one of the Seahawks practice weeks. So
oops,
there's things that can happen. What do you mean, oops?
I think it's pretty clear. Yeah.
and so when Friday rolls around, the question comes up of what's going on with Connor Williams. We hear from Coach Mike that he has decided to retire this week. And, is it because he got asked to change positions and he just didn't want to do that? Is it because he was getting demoted and didn't want? I have no idea about that part of it. All I know is the factual things with regard to what we saw in the injury report.
Okay, so Adam, we have a tried and true, I would even say, dare I say, old school journalist being like, this is what we know. So I'm going to report what we know. So I'll ask you the same question. What actually happened? What's your opinion?
Yeah. Okay. So basically, instead of tried and true journalists, I'm going to go National Enquirer here and just kind of figure it out on my own. Look, I don't know exactly what happened, obviously, but with that said, Brandon brought up a couple scenarios that I think are plausible. I think another one is that he gets 11 weeks into a season playing in a scheme that is making him look terrible and makes him feel terrible. And he's just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I really hope it's not some tragic personal reason. Like, I really hope that everything's fine in his home life and family life and all that. Wish him the best there. But it's a bad look. It's really ugly. The idea that he just up and quits on the team halfway through his season, that's not normal. Like, I listened to Mike's presser and him being like, oh yeah, like things happen through a season and that's normal. This isn't normal to have 3 starters now in the course of a month, not just benched, not injured, not underperforming, anything like that. They're just flat off the team, like halfway through a season. That's weird.
The traded one happens. The guys get traded at the trade deadline.
That's what I'm saying. Look, but you put all 3 of them together.
Yeah.
This is weird, right? Like any one of these things, you'd be like, okay, yeah, that happens. I remember there was a Colts DB that retired in the middle of a season once, or middle of a game. But with that said, like, you put all that together, and I'm a little concerned about this team and Mike's control of the team, along with John Schneider. They're entering the danger zone here over the next 2 weeks, losing 5 of their last 6, having all this turmoil around the team, guys coming and going. Obviously, Connor Williams not bought in any way and won't even stick around to help out his fellow teammates, whether that's Tomlinson or Olu or wherever. Like, if you don't want to play, make up a knee injury or something. Oh, my surgically repaired knee isn't working well. Okay, fine. and stick around and try to help him from the sidelines and that sort of thing. But he just bailed. And
yeah.
And that's the Niners and Cardinals coming up. Like this is a danger zone to me.
That is the weird part of it, is the idea of just bailing, because like you said, I think the easiest thing to do would be, especially with the injury, because that was something that people were speculating on was, is it due to his knee? And well, no, it can't be, because if it were due to his knee, then he would be it would have an injury designation next to his name as to why he was sitting out. So, and then I also heard people suggest, well, maybe Seahawks fans bullied him into retirement because they kept calling him out on his bad snaps. And if you're getting bullied into retirement, that sounds like Justin Britt blocking people on Twitter soft.
I don't think that's the case either. Although of course people were out there doing it, and whatever, you have the right to. That's how the country goes. What I would say, but my take, guys, is that Geno Smith had a conversation with Mike Macdonald and said, "Hey, I can't. We can't shoot ourselves in the foot. I can't have balls going 15 yards over my head. I can't have footballs being snapped when I'm not expecting them. He's going to the line and I'm about to take a delay of game because I'm the quarterback, but he snaps the ball. I can't. Like, we're not going to succeed with him." And then I think that there was this is my guess, there's some friction there. They have a conversation with him like an adult, and he's like, well, then cool, I'm out. Would not shock me if next year he's suddenly unretired. Let's put it that way. So that's what I think. I think Marlon might have hinted at that. Thank you in the comments too. But that's what I think. Is just like, our quarterback said enough's enough, and what you're doing is not good enough. So you put in Olu. We will rotate and see what the heck happens with this offensive line. Do we perhaps stumble into something a bit more stable? Or, Adam, like you were suggesting, to me, it's like one of two ways. Somehow, miraculously, this all works. And we get it. I'm still predicting a stupid win. We win somehow. I don't know how, but we win somehow. Or this goes off the rails. Like, it has a real chance of flying off the rails. And you hear other people coming out and saying, yeah, this is weird. And there's a complete lack of discipline and control on this team, and that's going to go straight to the top and Macdonald. And then the final stage of that is boss versus boss, Macdonald versus Schneider. And do they start to throw barbs at each other, or does it remain professional? Do they course correct? Do we win a few games? It's a wild swing, an absolute wild swing this year. So I'm excited to at least watch that, but I'm a little terrified as what it can mean for our team in the short term. And then even like, could this be a 2 to 3 year dent in the program?
Yeah, it could get real wiggy real quick. And I think if they end up losing Niners Cards here, all of a sudden the talk is going to be, well, shoot, maybe it was Pete all along with bubblegum holding this thing together. And, it was John that's been dragging the ship down, and now he's got this inexperienced guy, and it's all coming apart at the seams. And I don't know that I have a feeling of what Mike's overall culture is for this team yet. And it feels like guys are just kind of all over the place. I mean, against the Rams, the defense looked a lot better and they looked more bought in and they looked like they were playing fast. But for the most part, for this whole season, it does feel like there's a few guys that are kind of like, okay, fine, I'll go out there and do it, but whatever with this stuff. And I'm getting slightly concerned, I guess, is where I'm getting at there.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm not concerned about, though, Marlon asks, any plus 6,500 bet this week? I would say Connor Williams snaps over Geno's head, plus 6,500.
I love that. Good stuff. And I do want to give a shout out to Mr. Phil. Phil Leidick is in, of course, our protector and the co-host of What If. I encourage everybody who's watching this live, who's watching it later, every single week, Mr. Phil helps put out a awesome preview show. This week is no different. And it's out on, Seahawkers, let's say youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast. It's out on the For the Hawkera feed for audio. So get it wherever you get your podcast. But it's an awesome preview show. And we sure would love more eyeballs to it, because I think what Mr. Phil does is craft a really cool platform for conversation. All right. So let us rotate on over. Kind of said this as we were getting going, but we would love you to subscribe, youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast. Please go ahead and do that. The likes, the subscribes, they help a lot and probably more than you even think they do. And of course, if you want to contribute to the show financially, getintheflock.com and head out there so you can become a member of our Discord and Facebook Ring of Honor and other perks that are out there. Understand when we're getting together live, maybe get tickets from Brandon and Adam. If you're up in Seattle and they can't use them, there's a lot of reasons. Pick'em show, a whole lot of reasons. So please do take the time to join us as a member of the flock. All right, so guys, I went with this for this week's thumbnail, which is, of course, a little Tommy Boy for those that might be a bit younger, being like, who's that big fat guy? That big fat guy is Chris Farley, one of the best, the most amazing comedians of our generation for sure. Passed away too young. And I'm titling this one, No Idea. Basically, go ahead and burn your money, because never have I ever not understood a team 9 full weeks in heading into week 11 of the season. I do not know what you think of this team. I don't know how we're going to fit the run. I don't know if we could block at all. And I don't know if the team is basically going to go off the rails from a confidence standpoint. It is incredibly difficult. To me, it's like as hard to predict this game versus like week 1. And that should not be. Brandon, I don't know if you have a better pulse for what you feel about this team. Do you feel similarly, or you're like, no, I've got a slightly better compass than maybe I have?
I feel similarly. I think, though, that there are some trends that we've seen in the NFL, and those trends could maybe carry into this game as well. That even if there aren't like, oh, I think K9's going to have a 75-yard rushing day. I think there are, and one of the things that I think is the theme of Wilson's bets is that it kind of matches with some of those larger themes.
Yeah, I think so too. So everybody will be pleased, especially you, Adam, that I did not take a bunch of 49ers bets this week like I did with the Rams last week, and I got burnt. So it's good on the universe for kicking me in the pants. I didn't do it. I didn't do it this week.
Yeah, kind of like the gods gave you a little bit of what you deserved there, traitor.
A little bit of what we deserve, right? So, but we do have to crown again.
Gross.
Now a three-peat for the gentleman who cannot be here. But Wilson will say, kneel before me. He wins week 7, wins week 8. He won week 9. Although, Adam, your philosophy of taking 2 bets to kind of just at least recoup your money and then some worked well. You had the 2 for 3, but you get snuffed because Wilson is able to come in and I think get the under on one of them. I think that's what the math was. It's 2 weeks ago now. We can go back and look, but Wilson said he had won, so I trust the fella. But he's not here, so we can make fun of him and we could press on. So it is bet 1. That means it is Brandon in lieu of Wilson, our champion. Brandon, where is Wilson taking us, and how do you want to frame it up for the flock?
Yeah, he's either taken one of 2 approaches. It is put in a super lazy bet to start things off, or to go with, like I was saying earlier, the trends of the NFL. And I think that, well, I think in Vegas in general, they know that we as fans prefer to bet overs. And so generally the number that they put on the game is, it probably tends to be a little bit higher than it should, and unders hit a little more frequently. And so I think that's where Wilson's going here with the under 48 points. And with the way that the Seahawks are playing defense, with some of the trends and turnovers that we've seen, I could see this under 48 hitting pretty easy.
I kind of like it because of all the stuff, all the just mess and unpredictability. And with CMC back, are they able just to kind of control clock and just kind of maybe put us to sleep, and it'd be kind of a boring game where we're not really in it and they don't have to go score 30 points to win the game as a 49ers potentially. So I actually think this hits. Adam, where are you gravitating towards?
I think the number's right where it ought to be at 48 there. I mean, I could definitely see, a world where it's 32-24, something like that, with the Niners getting their offense cranked up a little bit more with the return of CMC, knocking the rust off last week and kind of putting it together. So, I mean, kind of pick your poison here. -108, almost even odds. Not a bad bet at all. And, a lazy bet, but not a bad bet.
Hey, one of the things that I hate about these, though, too, is that as a fan, if you are betting overs and unders, you can find yourself in a situation where the Seahawks are down 24-22,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, they're lining up for a field goal. I need my bet to hit, but I want the Seahawks to win, and hopefully you can be happy with the Seahawks getting the win in that scenario.
You just override that. You have to. If you're not overriding that, then just get out of our town here, right? Then you're not really a Seahawks fan, because unless you put so much money on it that you have to like go to the back of the thing and call like 1-888 gambler, like if that's your challenge, then so be it. Call that number later. But no, don't soil your hawkra like I did last week. All right, so Adam, you're up on bet one. Where are you going, bud?
All right, so I'm sticking with the triple S theory here, where or my whole philosophy of 2 safeties and a swing. Now, with that said, you're snake bit for a season betting if you bet on something that is negative 4,000, as I did last week, for the Seahawks to not convert a 4th down on their first drive, and they convert a 4th down on their first drive. Like, I can't get anything to happen for me this year. It's just a dumpster fire. So this is my first safety. So each team to score a TD and a field goal in each half. Going no, minus 10,000. If that happens and I miss this bet, like, I don't even know why I do the show for the rest of the year.
So I ran out of space when I made the tile here, the graphic. It is, just so folks realize, it is so 1 touchdown each half, 1 field goal each half. Both teams have to accomplish that for it to hit. And he took the no, like it's not going to happen at minus 10,000. So Brandon, what do you want to throw tomatoes at the guy for being such a wuss, or hey, fair play?
Well, I think we did that last week to a certain extent too. I mean, it is super safe. It's an interesting strategy, but in terms of people watching this and looking for potentially insightful bets, like, this is the one thing that we pointed out last time. This is for the one person in the audience that gets kidnapped, and they will only let you go if you get one bet correct. And you're scouring the app for the one bet that you think is the most likely. It's for that person in the audience that these bets are made for.
I happen to agree, but hey, hey, you almost had it last week until you said, Adam, that the Seahawks actually converted the 4th down on the opening drive. Like, what are the chances? In fact,
hey man, I'm just trying to win. I don't care about other people making money with their bets. That's not the point for me. And not only that, I could make a bunch of other bets that are more close to even odds or even little better odds, and they're definitely going to miss because I can't hit nothing this year. So what's the difference?
Yeah, I hear you. All right, so boys, I got a first one coming out hot that I like a lot. Another shout out to Mr. Phil. If you're watching on YouTube, he's been pumping in some notes that a lot of the 49ers are out, and quite a bit, like maybe upwards of maybe like 7 dudes. 4 for sure. Kittle might not play. Trent Williams might not play, et cetera, et cetera. One thing that I like here is that I know that the man Noah Fant will not play. So AJ Barner, I have him at plus 25 yards or more receiving. He's hit this 2 weeks running already, which is like, did he really? Yeah. The last 2 weeks, AJ Barner's hit this. There is no Noah Fant. I think, and by the way, he had 7 targets last week. One of them was while he's being held and should have been at his shoes. But anyway, it turned into that interception. Won't go to negative town. I think AJ Barner hits this and hits it pretty easily, just because ball's got to go somewhere. He is the tight end 1, and why not? 25 yards is, you could get 2 completions and hit this. I think he'll get 5 or so targets, probably a high percentage for completion. He takes in 3 or 4, decent little average, and I think he's ringing up 35, 40 yards on the day, and I'm smashing this one. So, Brandon, is my logic doing it for you?
I don't know. Did you consider that Fred Warner is lining up on the other side of the field? Because generally Fred Warner is a guy who takes away anything deeper than, I don't know, about 5 yards. So if you think that maybe 6 catches at 5 yards per average gets there, then I could see why you would take this bet.
Okay, so it is a bit of a throw in the face of Fred Warner, and I realize that. Adam, am I dumb for basically betting against Fred Warner being really good at football?
Well, look, Fred Warner is very good at football, but I don't know that this is dumb. At the end of the day, you put it really well at the beginning of the show, Clinton. We have no idea what to expect from this team in any way, shape, or form. And the only thing that you can really bet on, like with any sort of certainty, is pass game stuff. And then at that point, if it's not just Geno yards, then all the other bets for receivers and things like that, it's like, okay, pick one, hope for the best. And that's what you did here. It's a low enough number for 25 receiving yards that it doesn't spook me. And it sounds like Noah Fant, right? And
he's out. Yeah, he's out.
Yeah, he's not going to be there. And Barner has been coming on. I think he is a bright spot for this offense early in the season as a rookie contributor.
Very good. So speaking of coming on, why don't you come on down? Bet number 2, take it away, Adam.
All right. So I just said the only thing you can bet on in this offense is the passing game. So I decided to go with the canine bet.
Oh, no.
But only 25 plus rushing yards. This is a very, very low number. I decided, since you guys made fun of me so much last week, I decided to make my second safety not quite as safe. So at minus 900, I do think the Canine's going to get a few touches. I think in the bye week, they had to get to a point as a staff where they're like, okay, here's some things we're going to do to get the run game going and be a little more efficient. This was also made with the hope that there's going to be no Bosa, and the rest of their defensive line hasn't been amazing this season. So K9, 25 plus rush yards, minus 900.
You can't make a 25 plus with the hope of anything. This is one that should hit. So yeah, it's and if it doesn't,
hey Brandon, can you mask your disappointment in my safety bets more? Or like...
Probably not. But part of the other reason why I'm disappointed in it is because this is one of those ones like your fourth down bet that I could see not hitting, and I would be very disappointed if it didn't hit.
If this doesn't hit, something went wildly wrong. I won't even speak one of the ways into existence, because we don't need that bad juju out there. But the thing here is like, okay, look, you place $10 on this and you're going to get back like $11 and like 10 cents. Hey, if I can make 11% on my money in like, I don't know, 3 hours, that seems pretty good to me, right? It's actually just squaring that logic. It's like, I get back $1 on my $10. The thing that I looked at too, when you sent this over last night, and I was like, I was very interested. I'm like, how many touches does Vegas think he gets rushing attempts? And Vegas has the over under for K9 set at 14.5. So I'm like, all right, if he gets 14 attempts and doesn't hit 25 yards, other people are going to retire. There's going to be other retirements. There's going to be cancellations. Yeah. There's going to be firings at halftime. It's going to be bad news bears, guys. So I kind of like this bet. I don't know. I kind of do. It's like, hey, I'll take 11% gain any day of the week, man. If that was a stock and I can make that in 3 hours, I would do it.
Was Zach Charbonnet for 4+ yards at minus 900 not available?
Who?
All right, so we're going to move on. Awesome. So this is now, I'm up on my second down bet. Guys, this one's simple for me. Yes, you can see it on screen there, youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast, that it's only at minus 175, right? So you're betting $10 to win basically about $6 or so, just to kind of put it out there. This is Tariq Woolen under 4.5 tackles. That is the combination of solo and assists.
Ooh,
and
okay.
Yeah, the combination. But I want to, just put it out there. He was out for a game or two, right? He missed the Niners last game, I think. But in the games he's played this year, he has hit this bet exactly 0 times. Hasn't hit it yet. In most games, he's like 2.5, 3. Obviously, you're kind of on the razor's edge there. But he doesn't even really get to 4 tackles very often. So I'll just take this bet and say, let Julian Love, let the other dudes get, do what they do. Ernest Jones, Devin Witherspoon, let them gobble up those tackles. Let Tariq do what he does on the outside in coverage. And he has not hit this yet. So at minus 175, I don't mind it. Adam, I know we've questioned Tariq's tackling or the desire to tackle in the past. Do you think it carries over for this bet?
Well, I was just curious if on the screen, if I looked green, because I am green with envy when it comes to this bet here. Just to bet against Tariq Woolen tackling people and get minus 175 bet odds there. I love this bet, Clinton. This is a banger. This is free money. Tariq that's just not his game. He's just not a great tackler. And I would easily think that he would get well under 4.5. And as you said, it hasn't happened really all season, it sounds like. So Yeah, love it. Brandon, do you love it or are as envious as I am?
I'm also envious, but it's not because I don't think that Woolen's that good of a tackler. It's generally corners who don't get thrown on don't get tackles.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see that generally the worst corners on the team will be racking up a lot of tackles because quarterbacks are constantly throwing at them. Tariq, really good in coverage. And so it's also it is a little bit of a bet against him in the run game that he's going to get in the mix there and get some tackles. And we don't see that a lot from him, but I think it's more of he doesn't get thrown on either, and that's the part of it that I do like.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. When we talked with Griff Sturgeon just last week, Brandon, he was pointing out how they moved Devin Witherspoon into a de facto linebacker in some of those fronts. And yeah, that's the dude you do that with. Yeah, don't do that at all with Tariq Woolen. So maybe that continues. We have this whole huge bye week, and we'll see how they play the run and they scheme fit. Again, we don't know. The only thing that I was really loving this bet until Adam gave it the moniker, that's free money. Now I don't feel so good about it, but that's just the way it goes. All right. So Brandon, over to you.
And to that point, I mean, to get a minus 175 on something that he hasn't registered at all this season, he hasn't registered a 5 tackle game. That does appear free money-ish.
Yeah, it's oh god, this is gonna bust. All right, you're up on Wilson's second bet. Take it away.
All right, K9 anytime touchdown. This is Wilson's favorite lazy bet because it's one of the ones that is most likely. And I feel like when I watch PNW Prop Stars, this is just an automatic Wilson every single week. If he needs a bet, this is where he goes.
Yeah, the man had things to go do, and K9 anytime touchdown's a pretty good one. And CMC was like, I think minus 225 or minus 240, so you had to pay big money.
Wait,
no, minus. Okay. Yeah, you had to pay good money for CMC, and then I think K9 was next on the board, most likely to score. Basically, even money's what they're saying. Can we? And yes, he could catch the ball, and K9 does have at least one touchdown this year through the air, maybe two. I remember the one that was like the floater where he made a nice reception on it. Can we run the ball? Can we, if we're down by the goal line, can we get a freaking yard? Because we couldn't last week. So that part worries me. But Adam, are we going to watch K9 dancing in the end zone somehow, some way this week? What do you think?
Yeah, barring injury for sure. Look, at the end of the day, when they've gotten down in the red zone, their most effective player, even though they don't hardly use it, is K9 running the football. And he's been fantastic in the red zone. And I think that the Seahawks are going to be able to move the ball, and they're going to get in range to score. They've been doing it all year. It's not like the offense just doesn't move the ball all game. So he's going to have opportunities, and even odds. Yeah. I mean, shoot, even if it's a lazy bet, it's a good one.
Hey, sometimes lazy bets work out. Sometimes you find out that a boxing champion lives in your hometown, and you just lay $5 on her, and then she does the thing. So, all right. So yeah. Hey, she got a point reduced, right, for the headbutting. She was
just one, for all 5 of the headbutts.
Listen, I'm not the ref, right? I wasn't the ref. All right, I am for this bet, and I am going mono here, and I may have to substitute this bet because it involves a heads up JSN versus George Kittle. It's simply who has more yards. So on DraftKings, they have this little H2H button where you can find some of these, just 1v1s. And this is squarely a bet that Kittle will play and has a bad hamstring. Like, that is why I got here. It's like, okay, he's hurt. He might be out there as more of a decoy. They'll use Debo more, Jawan Jennings, et cetera, et cetera. CMC is back. So Kittle's just out there to absorb space and take, just open up other space for the other dudes. I could see that. That's the logic. And then maybe JSN goes and gets 55, 60 again. If he was healthy, I hate this bet. It is squarely, he's going to play dinged up. And at minus 110, I don't mind that play. And I literally could not find something that had more sound logic because I don't know what to think of this team. I guess first question for you, Brandon, is does JSN stack at least a decent game coming off of what was his best game as a pro?
I think the potential's there. And even if it were a healthy Kittle, I don't mind this bet just because we've seen so far that JSN has those games where they decide to feature him, and and especially coming off the last game where it's like, okay, finally we're seeing him used downfield rather than in the short game, and that's, I feel like, how he should be used and is most effective.
Okay, Adam, I'm banking on him playing kind of injured. Would you make this bet if Kittle was healthy? Let's put it that way.
Oh, hell no. Kittle's been on a tear, and JSN is one of the most highly variable dudes you can bet on this team. I stopped making JSN bets. What was it, like 4 weeks ago, something like that? Continually getting burned on trying to guess which receiver is going to actually have production throughout the game. Now, what do we do here, Clinton, if Kittle does not play? Is this just an automatic L? Do you have a backup?
I have to say, it's on me to send a substitute in. I don't have it carved out just yet, but I'll check tomorrow, and then I'll, if it's out, I'll put it on Discord or something like that and say that's my substitute. And if I don't do it, shame on me. I take an L. How about that?
Okay.
I think that's
so these get canceled if the dude doesn't play.
Yes, you just get your money back.
Oh.
Yeah, that's all. So, and we don't know what Kittle, but I am banking on him having one bad wheel and then JSN just being slightly more effective than a very banged up George Kittle, because he gets open against the stupidly, like he's wide open by 15 freaking yards. All right, I'm getting less optimistic about this game as we speak. All right, so next, this is also, I think, Wilson's third. Brandon, take it away.
This is one where I wish Wilson were here to explain himself, because there's a couple different ways that you could take this bet. You could, and the first one would be that the Niners are playing so well, they end up running the football late, and that leads Purdy to not need to throw it as much and would keep him under the 255.5 passing yards. But I'm going to choose to believe that Wilson thinks that our secondary has got it locked down, and he'll be held by our Seahawks corners, Reek Woolen, Devin Witherspoon, the guys on the back end. Kobe Bryant's going to have an amazing game, and it's going to limit Purdy under 255 passing yards.
So, Adam, which one of those two feel more right to you?
Yeah, so this is clearly a bet that is, at least it's betting against success for the opposition, Clinton. You should pay attention. That part I actually like. But this to me seems like it's either a bet against the idea that the defense that we saw against the Rams in the run game is real. He's like, nope, that's not real. The Niners are going to be able to run the hell out of the ball, as they always do. And Purdy's just not going to have to throw it that much. I think the other part of this bet might be, look, Trent Williams isn't playing. Maybe. And if that's the case, then the San Francisco offense has really struggled when he hasn't been on the field. He is a linchpin of that entire operation. So I think it's got to be one of those two reasons there. For a third down bet, okay, but at minus 115, I don't love it. I think there's a universe where he easily goes over 255.
Yeah.
It's kind of high, though.
It's a kind of high average for a week. However, I think the NFL looks at it and says, what are the chances that we get a similar game to last time, which was very close to a shootout, where like a Kenneth Walker sidestep away from DK catching that last bomb. And, and Geno had some big numbers last time, and Purdy was good. So maybe they expect a continuation of that. But again, I don't know what to think, guys. We have to watch this game as if it's literally a blank slate. So this bet to me is as good as any of the ones that have been out there today. And I don't even know why it's good or bad. It is what it is. That's right.
255, the exact number of passing yards he had against the Seahawks the last time the two teams
hilarious. So even Vegas is like, we don't know. Here's a
whatever. Put it at whatever he got last time.
Yeah, exactly. It's like some sucker will take it, and it won't matter because the house always wins, right? So okay, this is now over to Adam for his third down bet. And when I saw this, Adam, I was like, oh, okay. I want to hear your reasoning. And this is more like the David Duchovny X-Files. I was like, I want to believe. So make me believe that Lockett's going to have this game that you think he's going to have.
Oh, well, if you were looking for a sales job, you're not going to get it. Look, at the end of the day, again, I said it earlier in the show. I think about the only thing you can bet on and really feel great about is the passing game. Lockett has broken 50 yards quite a few times here in the last few weeks. And it's always kind of like just a couple catches, but still 50 plus yards and kind of quiet and in the background. I was going to go with a JSN bet, but then I remembered that he hasn't stacked performances like that ever in his entire career with the Seahawks. So I'm going to stay away from that. DK coming back off an injury. I didn't like the odds that came with a lot of his numbers. Thought about going with some Geno passing yards, and the odds were just terrible for this is my big swing right at plus 135. So I was like, nah, that's not going to work. Tyler seems to get his no matter what the situation is, and he usually does it in the 2-minute offense. And look, Dan Lowe says he doesn't think he's going to get it. He does seem to get to 50 yards more often than not. So that was kind of my
5 games to 4 this season so far. And
really more often than not.
Yeah. And it really does seem that he's the guy that Geno looks for in those 2-minute situations. So yeah, if they find themselves in that scenario, then I would look forward to hit. I think if you were probably to go back and look at those games to where he hit and where he didn't, I bet he's getting at least 40 of those yards in those 2-minute type moments.
That's a great point. And so well, first thing is, will we possess the ball with 2 minutes or so to go? So we get that no huddle, and then Lockett's just getting like 2 or 3 receptions in that drive to set up a Myers attempt. And he got 32 yards right there. And then the second part, which is probably less likely, is will we be in the game late where we get a second attempt at that, where it's the no huddle and we got that the clock is ticking down. We shall see. The other part for me is like Tyler tends to get his, like you said, as like a safety valve. And I think if he's at like 60, 70, I don't think it actually portends that the rest of the team's doing so hot. Now, it doesn't matter for the bet. That might just be part of the bet. It's like, hey, Lockett got 70, everybody else got Butkus, and that was that. And it was the only outlet, but we'll see how it all goes. Plus 135. I don't mind that one bit. What's Phil got there, Brandon? What's he saying?
Yeah, if Geno plays like he did against anyone other than the Niners, then Lockett has a fantastic chance here. Against the Niners last time, 4 catches, 65 yards, with his longest being he tied for his longest catch of the season. Oh no, it was his longest catch of the season, 37 yards.
Nice. I will say for the record, love having Mr. Phil chiming in. I know we can't always do this on Saturday mornings live, but it is my preference to do it with the live audience. I just think it's more fun. All right. So that brings us, of course, over to the Fail Mary, which if you're new to PNW Prop Stars, we do 3 regular bets, $10 a pop. The Fail Mary is a plus 1,200 or longer odds. It's only $1. We call it the Sunday Rubber. We call it the Sunday Scratcher. Everybody calls it that. And it's back to the top of the tee box for Mr. Brandon representing Mr. Wilson. Let us see. Where is he going?
Well, let's go back to that. Where is this an East Coast thing? I know you've talked about the origin of the Sunday Rubber before. Is that because nobody
Isn't it from his like teenage years?
It could be that too.
Okay.
People need to know.
All right. So I'm on a guy's trip 2 years ago now, maybe 3 years ago, and we're heading out to the Grand Canyon. It was the week of the Rams Super Bowl that they won. We went out to the Waste Management Open, also known as the Wasted Open, right? In Phoenix. So the golf out there, which I've never been to a golf thing in my life, but it was fun. Why not go out there? We do the Grand Canyon, and a buddy of ours named Jay Estabrooks, he just comes in with all these, a bunch of scratchers, lottery tickets that we got at a local gas station. And he proceeds to say that his father-in-law every Sunday comes over with a bunch of them, and his dollar ones he calls the Sunday Rubber. It's like, these are my Sunday Rubbers. So about 3 years ago, I adopted it, and I proclaimed that the entire world knows exactly what we're talking about. So the Sunday Scratcher, the Sunday Rubber. Everybody calls it that. So just go with it.
Everybody may call it that, but everybody's still uncomfortable with it. So
it's that fine balance. Certainly, yeah. I've kind of found that slot for my life, my adult life, at least, or like my young adult life. All right. So we are looking at, I like this one because this probably means I'm hitting my bet. So Brandon, what are we doing for Wilson on his Fail Mary?
doesn't necessarily mean you hit yours, because it could
I know
be
it
a
could be a
3-yard
2-yard
out,
one. I know. I understand that.
on,
It gets me
on the goal line.
It gets me closer to my destination,
Yeah.
one way or the other.
Yeah, AJ Barner, first touchdown of the game, betting for it to hit. And, if you're going to take a guy who, in terms of guys that are going to be plus 1,200 odds to hit it, AJ Barner is not a bad one, because he's going to be playing in place of Fant. And I could easily see him as one of those guys down on the goal line that, they try and scheme open, because the Niners, Fred Warner gets caught up in some guys going across the field, and AJ Barner just is able to slip into a little bit of a zone and catch a touchdown, or, run out to the sideline and catch it. I could see it happening. And for these types of bets, those are the ones that I like.
I don't mind a scenario where it's like 2nd and 2 from the 2-yard line, and we actually go under center, and we actually play action fake, and we boot, and he rolls right, and he tosses the ball to a wide open AJ Barner. Adam, every single week we see touchdowns like that in the NFL. Every single week we don't see our Seattle Seahawks getting easy goal to go touchdowns. So can it happen though?
No. This is look, we're all taking like wild swings here on Fail Marys. And
Sure.
I would ask you, how many touchdowns do the Seattle Seahawks tight ends have this year through the air?
Ooh.
1 or
Okay.
2.
How about this one? AJ Barner lines up at fullback ahead of Ken Walker, and it's they hand off to AJ Barner instead as the fullback, and he busts it in.
Well, when they have come out in the heavy package, since they don't play as a downhill football team, they have looked soft, and it has been completely ineffective. So I don't think that they're going to do that. They don't involve the tight ends in the red zone at all. I mean, yes, you got to take a flyer. Again, it's a Fail Mary, but
Yes.
This has a 0% chance of happening.
Well, that's why we call it the Sunday rubber. All right. So now that's exactly why. All right. So Adam, you pulled a little Houdini here where I didn't even have to take a second screen. I just made a copy of it, and I said, let's flip it. I appreciate if you can be one thing, be efficient. Take it away.
That's right. So I was just trying to make your life easy for a bet that will definitely not hit, or maybe it will because of my first bet. The whole thought process here was, well, I'm going to put my safety on that first bet at negative 10,000 that this doesn't happen. And just because I did that, then it will happen. So I might as well hit my Fail Mary and feel better about life. So I said yes and contradicted myself in my picks this week.
Brandon, what do you think of this?
Adam.
Yeah, what do you
That's
think?
how he's known. I do kind of like this because you're guaranteed to hit one way or the other. Yeah. And that to me, I think will be Adam's strategy here moving forward throughout the rest of the season.
Well, one, he gets his $10 back in about 10 cents if I'm doing the math on the fly.
Yeah.
And then the other one, he gets $14 on his dollar and nixes the $10 he blew. So he's either up like a dime or he's up $4. So, hey, going along with the philosophy of let me keep my money, it's not a bad idea, man. So I appreciate
Marlon asks, is there a possibility? Like, is there a draw mechanism to a bet like this?
No, because it's a yes or no.
Yeah, I don't think there's no 0 on the table here, right? There's no green 0 or 0. So I don't think so. I think
like people with the boxing match last night having parlays for fighters to win, and then one of the fights was a draw last night.
It was a draw, right? Yeah, I don't think this could draw. Yeah.
Well, to Marlon's point, with my luck this year, there is some possibility in an alternate universe that this doesn't hit either way.
Okay, so for Phil, who's asking, what does this bet even mean? So earlier, so the bet in general is each team. So that's the part that's missing on screen because I ran out of real estate. Each team has to score a touchdown in each half and a field goal in each half. Again, each team must do that before he bet no at minus 10,000. He just flip-flopped it and now said yes for plus 1,400. So Phil, I hope that clears it up for you, bud. All right. So that gets me, I think, to mine. So, hey, if you guys know what I'm going to say about this, if you're going to be a bear, be a grizzly, right? So Seahawks minus 12.5 points. We blow the doors off the 49ers because why not? Because we don't know anything about this team. At plus 1,400, we just wallop them. We do like a Atlanta Falcons style thing to them. They look disheveled. They look lost. The Boo Birds are out at home. Purdy throws a couple turdies, and we walk out of Santa Clara 5-5 and beating the Niners by 13 or 14 points. Boys, a boy can dream. And I don't know it's going to happen, but Adam, could you imagine if it did?
Sure. Division games are weird. The Niners season has been up and down all year, and they've looked a little better lately. Maybe this is the clunker. Maybe they come in and they take the Seahawks a little too lightly. Maybe all these dudes that were on the fence about in terms of playing with Trent Williams and Kittle and Bosa, maybe they all don't play. And if they don't, then that's a big deal for them. So is it possible? Yeah, it's infinitely more possible than AJ Barner catching a TD.
Yeah. So Brandon, what do you think? I mean, could you envision 30-17 Seahawks somehow, some way?
Yeah, this is one of those bets that I just want it to happen, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, unfortunately, when you look at the schedule for the Niners so far, they're lost to the Chiefs by 10 points. They lost to the Cardinals by 1, lost to the Rams by 3, and lost to the Vikings by 6. So it was against the undefeated team in the NFL that they lost by double-digit points. And when I consider that, I feel like you should get more than plus 1,400 for this.
Yeah, I kind of wanted more too, but I was running out of time. Like, all right, well, this one's gonna do. So, all right, well, hopefully that's how it all breaks down. Boys, why don't one of you take this and tell the flock that's been enjoying this what they should be doing to pay it back and grow that Hawkra?
Well, what you guys need to do is you got to get in there and hit the little subscribe button or the like button. I mean, you can hit the dislike button if you like, and that would be fair considering my bets all year. But if you appreciate the effort, you appreciate the content, you appreciate the hangout here on Saturday morning live, we'd really do appreciate it. It makes a gigantic difference as we push more on this video side of things and try to grow the channel. And if you're getting just a little value out of this, then I think that's an easy way to pay it forward. And we appreciate it in advance or don't.
Perfectly said. All right. So, Brandon, like, how do we wrap this up? It's such a weird week. Take it away, dude. How do you want to wrap this up in a week where this whole bye week has felt to me like this team is in a lot of a swirl of change? Like, can anything get normalized by Sunday, and then as we see it Sunday?
I like how you tried to search for a word to describe this last week, and you're like, I am punting on this opportunity because I can't think of one. Because that's what it feels like, right? It's been a couple weeks. And that was the one part of going back to where we started and talking a little bit about the Connor Williams stuff. It does seem that if you come out of the bye week with a plan, you're announcing it all at one time. And so you're announcing the Dotson news along with the Williams news, because it was kind of, it made it more odd to fans to hear the Dotson news come first. And maybe it just had to be that way transactionally. But also, I think one of the reporters was asking Mike this in terms of timeline. When did you know? Because if you did know that Williams was retiring, then you go ahead and you announce that around that same time, because then it feels like a cohesive couple of bye week moves, right? That, hey, we were going to make the move at center. We were going to make this move at linebacker. These guys don't want to be on the team anymore, and we're accommodating them.
Yeah, Erickson coming in saying, Seahawks in a mutiny. Go salty Seahawks. Now, I don't know if the mutiny means we take down the 49ers or we are literally revolting internally and this thing's about to go real south, real fast. Adam, which one feels more likely to you as you wrap up today?
Real south, real fast. Look, this is starting to feel like, bottom tier Bush League team stuff. Like, this is like Jets kind of thing where you're just having we're having this weird turmoil that, as Brandon pointed out really well, I think, isn't according to a plan. This is I don't know. I've never quite seen anything like this where you just have 3 starters that didn't just get benched, like that you could bring them back if the other guys don't perform. They're literally just gone. And it gives me an icky feeling, man. This is a team that I feel like Mike is having a hard time, just kind of pulling together. And then also the idea too, that all of these free agents that they brought in, again, all 1-year guys on 1-year deals, but like you whiffed on all of them, like massive whiffs, like not even on the team, massive whiff halfway through the season. You couldn't even make it a year. Like, this is all gross. And it's got me concerned, man. It really does.
It had me concerned enough that I reached out to Bears fan EJ Snyder of Bootleg Football and asked, is this function or dysfunction? And the fact that he didn't go to dysfunction, it made me feel good. That gave me a little warm fuzzy.
EJ's just sat on the inside, and so he doesn't know.
He knows. He would recognize. He'd be like, oh yeah, this is what, as a Bears fan, I know that such and such now is going to happen next. And
he sure knows dysfunction. Yeah, that's for sure. Right, with Waldron, Eberflus, and EJ's fantastic. The one way I'll spin it to I think land it for us is that, look, when Carroll and Schneider had their first year, they had a bajillion transactions. Now they were perfect gentlemen about it and did it in the preseason and didn't really mess with it too much. There weren't people abandoning midseason too much, but they really turned over the roster as thoroughly as they could. This time it's happening midseason, so it's more under the magnifying glass. It just could be McDonald's way of being like, you're not cutting it and you're not going to play. And he kind of berated Haynes and kind of came out real strongly about that ain't good enough either, so you are not going to play. So maybe McDonald's just a bit more cutthroat than maybe Carroll was, more of a velvet glove with Carroll. But at the end of it, they're kind of doing the same thing, and they maybe just want roster change. That's a positive spin. We'll see how it all goes. I am still irrationally optimistic and can admit that I think we're going to win this game. So, boys, when we beat the stupid 49ers by more than 12.5, and I slam my Fail Mary, and I could join you guys at the post-game show because we're celebrating a big Seahawks W, I'm going to be fired up. I hope you will be too.
The crown is going to look great on you, Clinton.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, look, I will gladly concede this week in bets if it means that we win by 12.5. There's only one thing that would make me happier than that, and that is if we beat the Rams by that much the next time we play them.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.